Ready for a deep dive today. We're going to get inside our own heads a little bit.
Sounds fun.
Well, as fun as trading psychology can be, right?
Right.
We're diving into Best Loser Wins.
Oh, I like this already.
Right. By Tom Hougaard. Just the title alone, I was like, what is this? Best Loser Wins. When I hear about creating books, I'm usually thinking about like winning strategies and kind of like the nuts and bolts, but this one's different.
It's a bit more philosophical, a bit more about the mental game, which is often the thing that is most important but least studied.
Definitely. So before we get too far, can you give us a little background on Hougaard? Who is this guy? What makes him qualified to write a book with such a bold title?
Yeah, so he's got a background in economics. He's got degrees in economics. But what's really interesting is he spent years actually on the trading floors in London.
Oh, wow. So he's in the trenches.
Yeah, he was in the trenches. So he's seen it all, right? He's seen the emotional roller coaster that comes with trading. He's seen the wins. He's probably seen even more so the losses. And he really understands the psychology behind it because he's lived it.
Okay, yeah. Not an armchair quarterback.
Yes.
So he's got the experience, but what makes his approach different? What sets this book apart? Because, I mean, there's a ton of books out there about trading.
Well, the first thing I'll say is he's not afraid to be blunt, even if it ruffles some feathers.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, cut through the noise, get to the heart of it.
Yeah.
And he opens the book with this great anecdote about how he almost got fired for giving some very direct market advice.
Okay, I have to hear this story. What happened?
Right. So a client approaches him, right, talking about this company, Marconi. And Marconi, at this point, their stock price had absolutely tanked.
Okay. So classic, everyone wants to be the one to buy low, sell high.
Exactly right. They see this price plummeting. They're thinking, oh, I'm going to buy it now, and then it's going to go back up, and I'm going to make a killing.
Yeah. But Hougaard, his response is basically, Marconi is garbage. Like, he just cuts straight through it.
Yeah.
And he says, this isn't a supermarket. He says, you can't treat the stock market like it's, you're just trying to find the best bargain.
It's on sale. I'm going to buy it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so tempting to think that way, right?
Yeah.
Because our brains are wired for it. We see a discount, we get excited.
You do. It's like that whole thing, like trying to time the market.
Exactly.
Or like catch a falling knife.
Yes.
You're going to get cut.
You're going to get burned. He has this great example. He talks about Northern Rock. It was this British bank, and people just kept buying it as it went down and down and down because they thought they were getting a deal. And it felt good emotionally, right? Who doesn't love a bargain? But it was financially devastating. It went bust.
Ouch, yeah. Okay, so if chasing those perceived bargains is basically a recipe for disaster, how do we shift our thinking then? What's the alternative? Well, that's where it gets really interesting because Hougaard argues that becoming a good loser, and this is a very strange concept, but he says that becoming a good loser and learning how to lose well is actually more important than always picking winners.
Wait, hold on. Did I hear that correctly? Losing well.
Losing well.
That has to be one of the most counterintuitive things I've ever heard when it comes to trading or investing.
It goes against every instinct we have, right?
It does.
Because you want to win, you don't want to lose.
Right.
But what he found is that a lot of consistently losing traders, they actually have a pretty decent win rate.
Okay.
The problem is their losses are massive.
Okay.
They dwarf any of their gains, and that's because of their emotional response to those losses. When they lose, they just go into a tailspin.
So it's not about being right all the time, but about how you manage being wrong.
Exactly. That's it. That's the key takeaway.
Which takes the pressure off a little bit.
It does.
To be perfect.
Absolutely. And look, we all make bad trades. That's going to happen. It's inevitable. But
Yeah.
how you react, how you manage those emotions, that's the difference between someone who's constantly losing money and someone who's actually learning and growing as a trader.
So it's all about managing those emotions. And I like how he put it. He quoted another trader, Charlie DeFrancesca, and he said, good trading means combating the emotions that make us human. And I'm like, yeah, that's the thing. We are human. We're going to have those emotions. And when money's on the line, that just amplifies them.
Absolutely. And those emotions can be brutal on our portfolio. He talks about all sorts of things like, not adding to your winners because you're terrified of losing those gains, chasing your losses because you're desperate to break even. We've all been there, right?
Okay.
Where you see red and you panic and you make a bad decision and then it just compounds the problem. He tells a really funny story, actually, about his friend who almost missed out on a massive win because he was so fixated on what he might lose.
Ooh. Okay, so we've talked about the problem, right?
Yeah.
The emotional side of things. But What about solutions? Does he offer any advice for kind of like taming our inner trading demons?
Oh, absolutely. And that's what's great about the book, is that it's not just theoretical. He gets really practical.
Okay.
And, one of the things he talks about is the power of visualization.
Okay.
And this sounds a little out there, but he actually got this from a documentary about Philippe Petit,
Wait a minute. The tightrope walker
the one and only.
between the Twin Towers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Hougaard was struck by how much Petit visualized every single step, every movement, his fears even.
Wow.
He trained his mind to stay calm under that unimaginable pressure.
Okay. Yeah. I can see how that would apply to trading. Looking at those numbers all day can be a little nerve-wracking.
Oh, for sure. And he actually has this really interesting journaling exercise. He calls it the Ask for Help exercise.
Okay.
And it's all about uncovering these hidden beliefs you might have about trading, these limiting beliefs.
So, almost like a therapy session.
Yeah, but with your trading journal.
Interesting.
So he really pushes you to get honest with yourself,
Okay.
confront those fears head on. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. We're going to talk about stuff like the power of adding to winners.
Okay, hold on. Before you go any further,
Mm-hmm.
I think we're going to have to pause it right there because we're going to get into those really juicy strategies when we come back for part 2 of our deep dive on Best Loser Wins.
It's funny you mentioned that adding to winners idea, because it really is where things get interesting.
It's such a mind bender.
Yeah, because it goes against every instinct,
Oh, yeah.
You make some money, you're like, all right, time to cash out. I'm out of here.
Get me out. Right? Like, ding, ding, ding. Take the profit.
Exactly, especially when you've been burned before. You get a little taste of profit and you're like, all right, I'm good. But Hougaard's argument is that by adding to those winners, you're actually kind of fighting against that instinct, that natural human instinct to sort of pull back, play it safe.
Like cut and run.
Exactly, when maybe, just maybe, there's more momentum there.
So almost like don't let fear make your decisions for you.
Exactly. Don't let fear drive the bus. And he uses this great example of a real-life Dow Jones trend day.
Wow.
And it just kept hitting these higher highs.
Right.
And instead of bailing out early, he kept adding to his position.
Wow. So he's like really trusting his gut on that one, trusting the trend.
Trusting the process, trusting his analysis, yeah. And it can be scary.
Oh, for sure. Because it can turn on a dime,
Exactly. And that's why it's so important to, have that strong understanding of what you're looking at.
Yeah.
And not just be driven by emotion. But it leads into another one of his big points, which is this idea of embracing discomfort as a sign of growth.
Okay, interesting.
Because, think about it. We've been talking about all these ingrained instincts. Right?
Yeah, we're kind of fighting our natural wiring here, I think, a lot of the time.
100%, right. So if you're feeling uncomfortable, it might actually be a good sign.
Okay.
Because it means you're pushing past your comfort zone. Think about physical training, right? If you're never pushing your body past its limits, you're not going to get any stronger.
You're not going to see results.
Exactly. And it's the same thing with trading. If you're always playing safe, staying in your little comfort zone, you're not going to grow. You're not going to reach your full potential.
He talks about, the SEAL training and things like that.
Exactly. Those guys go through hell to develop that mental toughness, right?
Yeah.
That ability to perform under pressure. And he argues that trading, in a way, requires a similar kind of fortitude.
Like a mental game. Yeah, it's interesting. It's almost like you have to train for it like you would a physical sport. You know what I mean?
You do. It's mental fitness. And he actually tells a really compelling story about this volatile trading day that he had, where he had all these entries and reversals.
Yeah.
The kind of day that would make most people just shut down the computer and walk away.
Oh, yeah. Turn it off. Can't even look at it.
But he stuck with his process, he trusted his analysis, and he ended the day with a win.
Nice.
Which just goes to show you, that mental resilience, it really can pay off.
It's all about, it seems like, backing yourself,
Yeah.
believing in yourself.
Yeah.
Not in an arrogant way.
Right, not overconfident.
But just trusting your analysis, trusting the work you've put in, and not letting fear take the reins.
Yeah, it's about mastering the mental side of trading so you can stay in the game.
Right.
Even when things get tough. Because they will, right. And it's funny because a lot of this comes down to reframing how we view those negative emotions.
Oh, okay.
Instead of seeing fear or discomfort as these signs of failure.
Right.
What if we chose to see them as, opportunities for growth? Huh?
Okay.
I like that.
Okay, I'm feeling uncomfortable. That means I'm pushing my boundaries.
Right.
I'm stepping outside of that comfort zone.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
Yeah. It's a sign that you're on the right track, even if it doesn't feel good in the moment.
It's interesting because a lot of people, it's like, if it feels bad, it's wrong. And sometimes that's true, but sometimes it's just, like you said, it's growing pains.
Absolutely. And Hougaard talks about this thing called internal analysis.
What is that?
So basically, it's dedicating time to really, like, dissect your own, I guess, strengths and weaknesses as a trader,
Okay.
Like really getting to know yourself.
Interesting.
And he uses this example of visualization techniques that he actually learned from, Philippe Petit, the tightrope walker, right?
Right, yeah.
And like Petit would spend years mentally preparing for these like death-defying walks,
Yeah.
visualizing every step, every movement, his fears, even.
Wow, that's wild. So he was training his mind to stay calm under that immense pressure,
Yeah,
before he even, set fit on that wire.
right. He was ready.
He was mentally prepared.
Yeah, if that makes sense.
And it's like, how does that apply to, Joe Schmo sitting at his computer, right?
Yeah.
Looking at the market ticker.
Yeah.
But it's about building that mental muscle memory.
Okay.
So by repeatedly visualizing those scenarios, both positive and negative,
Like,
you're training yourself to react differently under pressure, right? So instead of freezing up or giving into that fear, you've already run that play in your mind, so to speak.
yeah, you've already practiced it.
Exactly. You're prepared.
You have a game plan.
Exactly. You have a mental game plan.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah. And a big part of this, too, is recognizing those patterns in your own behavior, right?
Yeah.
Like, why do you get anxious when a trade goes south? Why are you so quick to take profits even when, the trend is clearly in your favor? Like, really digging into those things.
Yeah, that's me. Like, I know that about myself.
Right. And I love how he emphasizes that it's personal, right? What works for one trader might not work for another.
Right.
It's about finding those techniques and strategies that resonate with you, that help you build that unshakable confidence.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. All right, so we've talked about a lot. We talked about losses. We talked about understanding our own psychology, visualization. But there's one thing we haven't quite hit head on yet, and I think it's something that trips a lot of people up. It's this supermarket mentality trap.
Ah, yes.
We've kind of alluded to it.
It's a big word.
It's a big one, yeah. So I think we got to unpack that a little bit more when we come back for the final part of our deep dive here on Best Loser Wins. Okay, so we're back. We've covered a lot of ground.
Yeah.
Really digging into this whole idea of best loser wins.
Really challenging some of those assumptions we might have about trading, right?
Yeah, totally. And I think one of the biggest ones, and we've kind of danced around it, is this whole supermarket mentality trap.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
It gets me every time. So let's unpack that a little bit.
All right, so picture this, right? You're at the grocery store.
Okay.
You see something on sale.
Ooh, clearance.
Exactly. 50% off.
Got to stock up.
You're like, I gotta get it now. This is amazing.
Right, even though I don't need it.
Exactly. But here's the thing. The stock market is not a clearance sale.
It's so easy to think that way, though.
It is because, we're trained to look for deals.
Yeah.
We're trained to think low price, good deal. But in trading, that's not always the case.
It can be a sign of some, like, underlying problem that
Exactly.
you're not aware of.
A low price can be a signal that something's wrong, not that it's just a bargain.
Yeah. And we talked about, like, Northern Rock. That was a good example of that.
Exactly. People piling in as the price is crashing, thinking they're getting a steal, and it's like, no, this is going to zero.
Yeah, and then it
Yeah.
can be tough. So it's not just buying, though. Like, even when we have winning trades, sometimes we get hit with that supermarket mentality.
Oh, for sure. Like, we get a little bit of profit.
When we're like, get me out. I don't want to lose.
I'm going to lose it all.
Yeah.
Time to cash out.
Yeah. Take the money and run.
Exactly.
So how do we combat that? Because that's so ingrained, I feel like.
It is. And, again, it goes back to what we were talking about earlier with visualization,
Okay.
with really understanding your own psychology. Hougaard talks about this ask for help exercise in the book, right?
Yeah, with the journaling.
Yeah, the journaling exercise. And he says, imagine you've made a trade
Okay.
purely based on emotion.
Okay.
Maybe it's fear, maybe it's greed, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Sit down and you unpack that decision in your journal.
Okay.
And you ask yourself,
Like almost interrogate yourself.
yes,
Yeah.
what was I feeling in that moment?
Right.
What was I afraid of? What was I hoping for? Why did I do this?
Really dig deep into those underlying reasons.
Exactly. Because until you understand the why behind your actions, you're going to keep repeating those same patterns over and over and over again.
So it's like shining a light on those subconscious, like, triggers almost, you know?
Exactly. Awareness is huge. And then you can start making more conscious, deliberate decisions rather than just reacting out of fear or greed or, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I like that. So it sounds like a lot of this comes down to like really getting to know yourself as a trader, right?
100%. It's about becoming the CEO of your own trading, you know,
Okay. I like that.
taking ownership, understanding your strengths, understanding your weaknesses, understanding those patterns, and then putting systems in place to kind of help you navigate those things.
Because we all have them, right?
Yeah,
We all have those weaknesses,
they all do.
those blind spots.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what makes this book, Best Loser Wins, so valuable.
It's not just another trading manual, It's
Yeah.
really a guide to, personal transformation almost.
It's like therapy, but for your trading.
Exactly. And that's what's so powerful about it.
It's like, how do you become a better trader? Become a better you.
100%.
And that's going to reflect in your trading, ultimately.
Absolutely.
So we've covered a lot of ground here. We talked about like reframing our relationship with losses, the importance of, psychology, understanding ourselves, visualization. We've even talked about, finding a trading hero,
Yeah.
someone to kind of look up to.
Who embodies those qualities that you want to embody? Yeah.
Yeah. But I think the biggest takeaway, and this has been a recurring theme, is that it's not about avoiding losses altogether. It's about how we choose to learn from them.
Exactly. Every loss is an opportunity for growth.
I like that. It's an opportunity. It's not the end of the world. It's an opportunity.
It's a chance to refine your strategy, to learn something new about yourself, about the markets, and come back stronger.
Yeah, I love it. So if you are ready to really dive deep, challenge your assumptions about trading, and really develop that, like, winning mindset,
That mental edge.
that mental edge, I
Yeah.
highly recommend checking out Best Loser Wins. It's a great read, a lot of really interesting insights there. And I think at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, mastering your own mind.
100%. The key to success in trading, and honestly, in life, starts with you.
Love it. And that's a wrap on our deep dive into Best Loser Wins. We hope you enjoyed it. And until next time, happy trading, everyone.